participants. Let me introduce our second speaker, Dr. Anubama Pandit Saxena, Assistant Professor, Law at Department of Law, Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya, Sagar, Madhya Pradesh. Academic information, BSc, LLB, LLM, UGC NET, Law, PhD in Law. Experience, teaching and other. More than 20 years of teaching, UG and PG classes, including at UTD Law, Barkatullah University, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh, and at Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya, Sagar, Madhya Pradesh. Also have experience of more than 10 years in delivering invited lectures on law as a subject expert in various training courses organized time to time for the officers trainees of MP Administrative Services at RCVP Naroda Academy Administration and Management, Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. Guided more than 30 LLM students for their dissertations in their capacity of supervisor. Have membership of various board of studies and editorial boards, international and national. Has special training in human rights proficiency organized by MB Human Rights Commission in 2001. Attended orientation, faculty development program, and refreshers on clinical legal education, research methods, ICT, etc. Has contributed in design of new curriculum for PhD and LLB and BA LLB from time to time, has created ICT mediated teaching, learning, pedagogy, and content development of new and innovative course and developed e-content for UGC, CEC, and MOOCs for SWAYAM. Has paper publications 8, 2 charter contribution in books, and 35 invited lectures and 19 paper presented in international national conferences and seminars. Has experience of bearing various administrative and academic responsibilities relating to the examination, admission, student monitorship, students election committee, departmental coordinator for IQAC, convener PGDC, anti-ragging squad, women's sexual harassment complaint and redressal committee, internal complaint committee, annual report committee, moot court committee, convener and co-convener of national and departmental activities, etc. A vision and mission. As a vision to introduce more innovative teaching pedagogies in law teaching, introduce new and diverse courses, and providing teaching and research space and environment, physical, virtual, academic, social, and competitive, encourage the innovative result-oriented teaching, problem-oriented research, balance of traditional law teaching and innovative law teaching, adopt flexible multi-learning sources, new curriculum, job-oriented specialization, encourage interdisciplinary social legal research, contribute through law journals, periodicals, magazines, newsletters, seminars, conferences, workshops of social legal importance, etc. We are very glad to have you, ma'am. Please begin the session.
Thank you very much, Jinuji, for this introduction. I just realized that I should have sent you, CV more brief than this. But I am not a very what should I say? I'm from a different faculty, but I would really like to. First of all, please tell me, am I audible and visible? So
yes,
that I can
start.
Right. So I would like to, first of all, I would like to express my gratitude and thanks to Dr. Frank, who's president of Lavender Literary Club India, then CAP Comorian Trust, and also the Mira for inviting me in this workshop. Jinuji, may I have 1 or 2 minutes from you? And just can you please tell me how many, do we have participants from law, or should I just, I will be focusing more on the research structure rather than going into the legal things. Do we have like 1 or 2 or any of the participants from legal field? Do we have? Right. Okay, so it's okay. And meanwhile, I can start with my PowerPoint presentation. Just give me a minute. I will be sharing my PowerPoint presentation with you. And I would like you all to please note down the questions whenever it comes to your mind. And if the organizers permit, I don't exactly know how it goes, but if they permit, you can please open the chat box so that you can we can take the questions from that chat box later on when I finish. So, and if something comes in my mind in between, then also I can answer the questions in the chat box itself. So let me just share my PowerPoint presentation, and I request you all to please pin my screen, because this presentation I have especially prepared for you only, for this workshop only, because I have this habit of preparing each time whenever I'm invited somewhere online. I prepare a different PowerPoint presentation as per the requirement of the topic. So I have, I put some of pictures, some of the charts for your consideration. So I request you all to kindly pin this, and let me share my screen. I request, because I just requested that because my topic is related to the structure of a research paper. And how can I show you the structure until and unless I show you some samples? So I will be showing you some very popular samples of research papers, not only international, from India, and I will try to show you from Malaysia also, so that you can just have an idea how to structure a research paper. Okay. Jinu ji, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. It's visible.
Yes. So thank you very much. So this is today's topic, which I selected for this workshop. And I tried not to make it only focused on law, because it will be helpful for everybody who's writing a research paper, not for just for the legal fraternity. But yes, we have some inputs which we have to put in our research paper. So I'll tell you about that also, and I'll tell you how the legal research paper is different from what the other research papers demand. But somewhat it is something common for everybody. So I hope it will be useful for all of you. So as you can see, these are some pictures. Why I showed you this, let me explain. This beautiful building, which you can see, is the structure, or I should say it is the building of a library of Supreme Court of India, which is the largest library in Asia. So this is so beautiful. You can see it is from outside, but the soul of this library lies inside, which you can see there are, number of books, we can't even count it. So that is why it is the largest library of Asia. And the picture on the right side, this is the picture of the library of my department, because I work here in Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya Sagar, at the city which is called the heart of Madhya Pradesh. And we have our own library in our department. So you can easily figure out how library work, or the sitting in library and preparing material is important in legal fraternity, not just for legal research paper. It is important for everybody else, I can understand. But yes, whenever we talk about the paper, research paper in law, the first thing comes in our mind is this kind of library, and the research work which is done by sitting in library, which is basically called the doctrinal kind of research work. But nowadays it is not the phenomena. The things have been changed. And though we cannot deny the importance of library in any of the research paper whenever you are preparing a research paper. But yes, there are certain other methods we also use, where some of the people, for some of it's law is all about books and periodicals and journals and all India reporters and case laws and this. But now the things have that changed, and we do research using empirical methods also, and it is one of the most important component of legal research nowadays. And we have a unique blend of traditional doctrinal research and the non-doctrinal method of research. So this is also reflected in our research paper. So we have to the structure is why I show this structure, because a structure is something which attracts you to the inner insight of the that, whatever you call the building or the research paper or whatever. So making a structure beautiful and well planned is very, very important. So I selected this topic, legal research and the structure of a research paper in law, which will be helpful for any other research paper also. So this is what we done. I tried to make this, PowerPoint presentation using the photographs of my own department, so that you can see how we work. This is, you all must have heard that we used to organize, not only we, every institution teaches law, organizes legal camps, moot courts, and everything. So this is something which we organize regularly, legal literacy camps. And what we do there is that we go in some village or some area, and we try to talk to the people and try to find out what kind of legal and administrative problems they are having. Are they aware of the latest laws? Are they aware of their rights? And if they are aware of their rights, do they know to whom they have to contact in case of some kind of help they need? Especially we talk to women and children. You can see lots of children are there, because but that time we focused on child labor. So we went there, and we went with some of the administrative officers also. So why I'm telling you this, because I just want to convince you, and I just want to tell you that legal research is not confined to library anymore. Yes, of course, we do legal research in library whenever we are talking about some some jurisprudential, some legal doctrines, or some legal, development which is only focused on legal principles. But whenever it is about the social impact of law, the utility of law, the effect of law, finding out the the lacunas, the gap of law, it is always empirical method is the most suitable method to write a research paper, or to write a thesis, or to do any kind of research. So we go there, we collect data from there. You can see our students and teachers, we allot, just distributed some tasks to somebody, and so, we collect this data, and on the basis of this data, we sometimes write our research papers also. So this is one method. I am telling you this because before discussing the structure of legal research paper, we should understand what is expected from a legal research paper. That is why I'm telling you. So now, of course, it is not confined only to library, or just to go to the people and talk to them. Now the legal research is mostly done in electronic form. So how it is done? You must have heard of so many electronic databases available which help us to find out the case laws, the research material, the articles, books, debates, even the constitutional debates of every country where are available. We are very, now on a single click we can find out the international judgments, the judgments of International Court of Justice, the judgments of Malaysian court, the judgments of UK court, even European Union. Anything is, we can find out in just a click. Before it was very, I showed you the library now, because previously the research was, most of the time the research is limited to the library. So every lawyer, every practitioner, every teacher has to maintain a large library. But now it is easier for us to do research, especially when a case comes to us, to a lawyer, to advocate. Now these are the tools which helps us to prepare our research paper and to do a legal research in very fast. We can do that. LexisNexis, Manupatra, you must have heard of this. Supreme Court of India also have its online, you can go on the website and they also have the database. So you can access any case, anything, just by the name of the judge, just by the date, just by the name of the parties, anything. It is very, very easy. You must have all heard of this, because everywhere it is the same. And now there is one more thing. Do we just do a legal research by a doctrinal method, the empirical method, whatever you call it, or whatever are the methods available? No, now we do legal research, or we prepare our research papers with the help of AI. That is artificial intelligence, which has now, entered into our lives everywhere. So AI also helps us to prepare research papers. Of course, in fact, the AI PhD research assistance is also available nowadays, and you must have heard about Chat GPT and everything. I have never used that because I always prepare my presentation firsthand. I like it my way. But yes, they help you in collecting material. They help you in, structuring your research paper, and then you can modify it so that, it doesn't, even if you are using some tool, just take care of the plagiarism. That the lectures are already been conducted by this in this workshop regarding plagiarism, but I will be telling you exactly what plagiarism issues we law people face, because the tools which are made for the plagiarism check, they are sometimes not very no, sometimes they find some they object, or they ask, they just highlight something which we have to write it like that only, because if we are writing a judgment of Supreme Court, if we are writing a case, we'll have to write it now word by word, and the plagiarism checker wo pakad leta, it catches it. So how can we how we do avoid that plagiarism, or we how we maintain that? I'll tell you that also. I hope I am audible, so I'll continue.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yeah, just give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Shubh, little light chali gayi hai. Please see that my net doesn't drop. Okay, thank you. So this is the extra lights. Band kar do, please. Sorry for the interruption, but today we have our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji in our city for some, an inauguration. And since morning, electricity issues are going on, but I'll try to continue. So the research paper in law, let me tell you how our research papers are made. So the research paper in law are based on either pure legal research that I already told you, that it may, based on some legal principle, some legal doctrinal doctrines which we have. Like you must have heard about, sui generis, or like caveat emptor, or any principle for that matter. So we have so many doctrines in law. So if the research is based on that particular doctrine only, then it will be a pure legal research. Or for example, if I just want to find out the change in dynamism of human rights in India through the in the eyes of judiciary only, or in the eyes of Supreme Court only, then I'll only look into the cases. Then it is a pure legal research. It does not require more more empirical method to be used in that. But if any research is related to science, society, and related to economics, related to something which is related to people, then we always go for extra legal research, which is very, very like popular and important these days, because ultimately law is for society. And if a law is not helping the people of helping the people, or if it is not helping the society, it is not a, we don't consider it a good law. So the most important thing nowadays is that we, of course, we use extra legal research methods. And since my subject is so vast that we can, from personal from personal life of a person and up to space, we can research in any area. Law is everywhere. So our methods are also some mixed method also we use in our research papers. So that is how we make a research paper, depending, and the structure also depends on whether it's a pure legal research, whether it's an extra legal research, or whether it's a mixed research where we use both doctrinal and non-doctrinal methods. So research paper will be structured accordingly. So there, of course, there are some fixed, there is some fixed structure of a research paper, but we can adjust according to our own demand, the demand of our topic. We can change. We can put. We can change. You can. What I would like to say is that we can. We can put some kind of modifications in the already fixed structure that I will tell you. By example only, I'll show you the sample also. So doctrinal method and non-doctrinal methods, or mixed method, are equally important for us, of course. And traditional methods are more into doctrinal aspects. I already told you that based on jurisprudence, but today we are focusing on empirical methods also. In our university also, previously we used to do thesis and research papers based on library research, but now we encourage our students to go into the society and go into some village, or try to focus on a problem which is very, very like socio-legal research we are focusing on right now. So this is very important. And whenever the society comes, or the economics comes, the importance of qualitative and quantitative data both is, you can understand, it is very, very important for us. Both kind of data is important to us. Of course, we collect qualitative data, and quantitative data also becomes important in that case. So, and how we collect this data for our research paper, the primary and secondary data, again, both are important. We rely on books and periodicals, as I already told you. Some legal database are there. I showed you. Commentaries are there. In fact, novels are sometimes very, very important for us, because my subject is like this. We have this opportunity and this blessing of enter into everything. So we can research on anything and try to find out the legal aspect of that, right? So in fact, now in my university, one of my student is writing a thesis and trying to find out the legal doctrines and the philosophy of human rights in Ramayana. So, we have got this wide aspect. So our research methods are also like that, and our research papers are also like that. So we make our own structure most of the time, keeping the basic structure as it is. So I'm going to tell you that how. And we also utilize interview, survey, observation, and right now, like statistics of data, we call it jury metrics. Because whenever we collect that kind of statistical data in law, we call it jury metrics. You can, just Google it and find out. It's very, very interesting. So like our teaching nowadays has changed. We do not teach in traditional method. Of course, we use that also. So it's a unique blend of traditional and clinical online teaching. So likewise, the taste of our what I should say, readers or our audience is also changed. So now we write research paper in that way, because the most important thing for a research paper is that it should reach to the people for whom you are writing. Okay. So if a research paper is pure law, its structure would be different. But you can always use the fixed structure, introduction, abstract, whatever I'm going to show you all, and then research methodology, then data collection, then data analysis, then bibliography, and all that. It's a fixed structure you can use. And if it is totally empirical, then also the method is also well known. But when you are using something mixed, or you want to focus on something important, then you have to amend your structure accordingly. Okay, so it's a bit challenging to structure a legal research paper, but what we do is, I'll tell you my personal experience, that first I form a rough structure always. Then when I study a topic, first of all I study the topic, then I'll form a rough structure. Then again I study the topic, and then I will focus on the restructuring my research paper again. So it take two times you have to do it. Maybe you can do it on the first time also, but it takes a little bit of, and if it is structured and well planned, then everything goes step by step very well. So it is important. So we as a law researchers have to give more time to decide our methodology and structure of research paper a little more, so that we can communicate what we want in our research papers. And we have to be extra careful, because I already told you that the software or the tools that help in research may sometimes not be very accurate for our purpose, like Urkund you must have heard, and other plagiarism checker, whatever they are. So they sometimes they show us a judgment which is, even if it is quoted, and I can't quote each and everything in the judgment, but I sometimes it's a language of the Bare Act also. The act itself, I'm quoting the section also. I have to quote the section. How am I going to analyze the section if I'm not putting that in my research paper? So it shows plagiarism, because it goes to the act and shows that I have copied the section from there. So we have to have like in our university, we have a committee where there is a specially law professor involved. who knows that it can be excluded from the plagiarism because it is just the language of the Bare Act. And even if sometime it happens that we use so many sections and articles in our research paper that it shows that your plagiarism is 60%. Now, definitely it is going to show the 60% because most of the time we have to discuss the existing law first. Then we have to suggest some changes. So that can be, managed, and that can be very well addressed by the committees we already have in our universities. So yes, we have this privilege. So we have the privilege of, this is one of the most important thing, and which is something which I like about my discipline, is that multidisciplinary research is very, very easy, and it is like we can go in any subject, from female feticide to right to die, from soil law to space law, from domestic law to international companies, from food to artificial intelligence. So no, we are everywhere. Law is related with every aspect of your lives. So multidisciplinary research is being encouraged in our field. So research papers are also being written accordingly. So our interaction will go like this. So now I think I have 40 minutes or 1 hour was allotted to me. So I'll try to cover up these many points in between. We'll go like this. Okay. So this is just a synopsis, or what you call index. I'll leave it. I'll just go to the exactly what we have to discuss. This is what we're going to discuss. So what is research? I will not give much time on what is research or what is legal recourse, because you already must have heard about what is research. It is the third day of our workshop. So just a glimpse. And just to tell you that research means same thing for us also. In legal research, the only thing is that we focus more on law. That's all. That is the definition which is highlighted here, which is the definition of Black's Law Dictionary. Dictionary definition is one of the most important definitions all the time because it suits everywhere. And in law, we say that first interpretation is the literal interpretation, which is given in the dictionary. So dictionary definitions are definitely important. Black's Law Dictionary definition defines legal research as the finding and assembling of authorities that bear on question of law. Here, authorities means that way, law, policies, that is called authorities. So we assemble that. But we just not assemble that. We also test that. But for some people, legal research means, for example, an advocate. The legal research means when a case comes to an advocate, he just have to find out the authorities and prepare his argument. But for a research, for research for a student, for a teacher, for a PhD scholar, for people like us, research means something different. It is not just about finding and assembling the authorities. Rather, it is about, of course, we have to find and assemble. That is also a big task in law. You have to, assemble and collect information. Then you have to analyze it. Then you have to test it, whether that particular information which you have collected is, it is suitable for the particular cause or not. So that way also research goes, but it is a common definition. So legal research is the process of identifying and retrieving information necessary to support legal decision making. That I told you already. It is a Wikipedia definition, though it is not an academic, like Wikipedia is common for everybody, but yes, it is very popular. Now, these two are the very famous writers of law. And they say that research that either directly or indirectly takes law as a subject of examination is exactly legal research. So I'll not again repeat the same thing. The gist is that, yes, of course, our research is same as any other discipline, but of course, our focus is law, legislation, text, legal text, Bare Acts, and how far these laws are useful for our society. This is our focus. And that is how we prepare our research paper, research thesis, everything. Okay, now this is all about legal research. This is my perspective. Of course, this is a original PowerPoint which I prepared, except this function of laws. This I took from this slide there. I told you already. Okay, so my perspective of legal research is that we have to focus on what law was, how, when it was made. Because sometimes we write our research paper on the law which was made in 1919. So what law was, how was the law that time, what were the lacunas in that law that time, okay, and then what amendments were made, the amendments that were made, are they accurate were they accurate for the problem, how much problem was solved by that law. That can also be the concern, because that will guide you to make further amendments in your existing law. So sometimes it is that also. So when, what, why, how. Now these are the questions which are always focus of a research paper, a legal research paper. About what law was and how existing law is. So this is also, these are the same questions which we have to find out in what existing law is. And the most important thing, most important purpose of a legal research, whether it's a research paper, whether it's a thesis, is how law ought to be, how law should be in this particular circumstances, or how law should be to deal that particular issue. That is what our results should focus on. And these are the functions of law. So if we know the functions of law, we will know the focus point of our research. We know the purpose of our research, where we have to go. The functions of law is to keep the peace, shaping moral standards, promoting social justice, taking care of the rights of people, then solving the disputes between parties. So if we focus on the functions of law, our research paper will also be focused. Okay, so this is my perspective of legal research, right? And this is how the things go in any research paper or thesis. Now, I actually prepared my presentation in FAQ form, because this is one of the most popular form nowadays and very interesting also. So I have answered, 2 questions. Now I will be answering these 3 questions simultaneously, because I can't give time for each and every question. So I will be answering all these. Is legal research different from other researches? I already told you, no, it's not different. But of course, our focus is law, and definitely the implications, effectiveness, utility, and the issues, possible solutions, amendments as per the requirement of society, and above all, a legal research, legal thesis, anything should always be balanced, like our that balance we have. So it should be balanced. It should not be biased. It should not just focus on one issue. If you are providing some kind of solution, the solution should be balanced for all the stakeholders, all the beneficiaries. So that is very, very important, not only in everything of law, even in research paper. The balance of facts, the balance of solution, the balance of everything is important. So yes, of course. What is the purpose of legal research? I already told you that the purpose of legal research is to find out the most suitable and appropriate law for the given subject or the issue or the situation or whatever is there. So every legal research has its own utility. A pure law research are also important. Theoretical foundations, for the theoretical foundations, pure law research are very, very important. But to understand the practical, realistic approach, extra legal researches are equally important. So both kind of research are, every kind of research is important for us. Doctrinal, non-doctrinal, similarly, what I should say, empirical, same thing. Now, purpose of legal research. I already told you that the purpose, it differs. The purpose differs from person to person. For a student who has just took admission in BA LLB, it may be writing a research report. It may be preparing a project. And for an advocate, the legal research means just collecting information, just collecting the cases of Supreme Court, just collecting the data. But for a teacher, the purpose of research may be different. So it can be if the purpose may be collecting information just to make understanding of law, can also be a purpose of legal research, because sometimes it becomes very, very difficult to understand the language of law, and you definitely have to research into the commentaries, the debates, the blogs, to basically understand the true nature of that law. So that is also the purpose of legal research. That can also be there. And finding the issue is also very important, because when we find the issue, then only we can, suggest some solution. So we have to find out the lacunas, the gaps in law, so that we can address the issue in an effective manner. And testing the utility is also, can also be the purpose of research, because already, for example, already there was today itself, Indian government has proposed, massive amendments in the criminal law in India. Although they are just a bill now, but it incorporates so many new things which are already in demand. And now it is the time for us researchers to test the utility before it becomes an act, because once it becomes an act, it becomes the law of the land. But You can, like test, you can conduct interview. The people who are engaged in research, we can always test the utility. And if the law is already been made, then also we can test the utility, whether it is performing its function for which it is made, or do we still require some of amendment, or is it just a failed law, it is just a law in books only. So that kind of testing is also one of the purpose of our legal research. Suggesting amendment is definitely one of the purpose. Policy making, yes, of course, it's not just a job of policy makers only. We study the policies and we suggest some kind of changes as per the requirement, and then judgment, argument. So it differs from teacher, student, scientist, firm. Even you people also do. Whenever you are writing, even I saw papers from literature which quote law. So everybody can do legal research. The purpose may be different. So this is expect. So now let me tell you what we expect from research paper. This is all we expect from a research paper. A legal research paper should focus on the issue first of all, what we have to do, and then we can choose our structure. So these are the questions and these are the answers. Now let's move on. How to structure a research paper in law? Is there any general structure that we can modify or amend as per our research? Of course, there is a general structure, which is a structure for everybody. So the best idea is what? Sometimes people say that don't write your research paper first. Find out the publisher first and then write your research paper. This is a very good practice when you are publishing for the sake of API, the marks which are useful for us for appointments, for promotions, for career advancement, or just to fulfill some requirement of UGC. You must have some kind of rules there. Everybody has. So if that is your purpose, then it is okay to find out the publisher first and then write your paper, or I should say the structure your paper according to their need, because then only they are going to publish. But if the best idea is, like, just for us, the just idea is to find out a problem which in which you are interested. Just find out a project in which you are interested and just prepare your research paper as you want it to prepare, and then find some of the publishers, because it's a huge list of UGC listed journals. It's a huge list of peer reviewed journals. Until and unless you don't want it to publish in Scopus, because every time our writing a research paper, we do not have this in mind that we are going to focus only on the top international publishers. Sometimes we write it to you can publish it anywhere, and especially you should always focus on the people for whom you want to write. Even if the journal in which you are publishing, you want to publish your paper, is not some international reputed journal, but if it is a local journal of your area, then your research paper will reach to more people who who enjoy your research paper. So focus on, either way it works, whether you can choose the publisher first or you can write the research paper first. And however it takes time when you write a research paper first, the idea is that let me tell you a tip for that. If you are preparing your research paper, just keep a word file of that, and whenever you are in communication with the publisher, then you can restructure your research paper accordingly. It only takes 1 or 2 hours, hardly matter, because once your structure is foolproof, your structure is well balanced, you can just always cut, copy, paste your structure as per the requirement of the publisher. So it hardly matters. So whatever suits you, you can do it. I am not in just in that. Maybe I differ, I beg to differ, but I don't do this. And first of all, I encourage my student to find the interest area, because research, it's a bit challenging task. So just 1 minute. Okay. So you can structure your research paper as per your requirement or as per the requirement of publisher, whatever. Jinuji, am I still audible and visible? Because the electricity is not here, so I am afraid whether I'm. If somebody please respond.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
That is so nice of you. Thank you very much. It happens in online, although it's showing, but sometime, right. Now, this is the now let's come on to the main topic of our today's discussion. The structure of research paper. This is a general structure of research paper, whether it is of law, whether it's of economics, literature, whatever, and I took it from here. So I just referred that. So this is a common structure of research paper. There has to be abstract, outline, introduction, literature review, methodology, results, discussion, recommendations, limitations, conclusion. Each of this heading you have already discussed in the workshop in detail. Like the senior member, the senior teacher who was just discussing one of the most beautiful topic before me. She was discussing about literature review. Maybe she's going to join and tell you it is very, very important. So she's going to give you a deep insight of the topic also. So that you already understood. But this is how you structure your paper. You should first know how to write an introduction. You should know how to conduct a research literature review. Okay, then you should make your own methodology, mixed methodology, or like whatever you like, and then how to present your research in an effective way. Each topic took like it's a specialized topic, but all these topic is my topic. The structure, how to structure a research paper, and especially of law, how we do it. So it is a common structure which you can of course use in anywhere, and we do it in law also. So let me take you down. Now let me show you some samples, because this is actually going to help you whenever you are going to write a research paper. We are always confused. Whom do we follow? Like we should follow the international guidelines. We should follow the guidelines of our country. What we should do, So just 1 minute. I'm very sorry. Bete, the fluctuation is going on. Please turn off all these things. ये इसको बंद कर दीजिए. Okay, so let me show you this sample. This is a sample of Stanford Law School. I told you already that I'm going to show you 3 samples. One is international, one is from National Law University, New Delhi, and one is from Malaysia. So you can always see that the structure is common. Only a few things are different. So you can structure your research paper accordingly. So this is an international law school, and this is how you can always find out the structure in the journal in which you are publishing. Okay, they will tell you Times New Roman, this much, there's a format is also there, structure is almost there, but this is a basic structure which you can follow in any kind of research paper, not only in law. So this is I think it is visible. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Visible.
So you can Google it from anywhere. This is I just selected you some reputed universities for you only, because this will help you. Now see, this is like a common structure: introduction, background, the problem, recommendation for change, and conclusion. They only have 5 points. When you Google and you'll Google it that how to structure a research paper, they will show you 5 points, 7 points, 10 points. 12 points. So whatever suits your demand, you can change the headings accordingly, right? And this is also, the format is also there. And the table of content is also there. This is how you write. So you can just Google it, and it is very, very easy to, tips they also give. So it is, and how to cite. Now this is, in legal research paper, we use Blue Book citation. It is there, you can see. Blue Book citation is a citation, it helps us in citing. So sometimes, students ask me that, ma'am, how to cite a book? Should we write name first, or should we write surname first? Or should we write the publisher first? Should we write the page number first? So it happens everywhere. Better you follow a citation style. And the best tip for this is uniformity. Whatever you are following, just cite uniformly. If you are writing the surname of the author first, write everywhere the surname of the author first. Okay, if you are not following some kind of citation, but ultimately you have to follow. Even if you are following APA style of citation, in law we follow this Blue Book citation. It is just like same. So this is how you should understand. You should know that if all the research papers or the journals which publish with reputed journals, they follow their own citation style. So just go to their website and just follow their citation style, right? So this is an international sample which I need to show you. Now let's move on. Now this is a sample, and I will recommend you to just go to this website. Very easy to find out. Just type National Law University Delhi, and it is something wonderful and detail about writing a research paper. And it is not just useful for the student here in India. It is a well-known, like you will, let me show you why I am telling you this. Let me show you. It's a wonderful book and very detailed. So each and every query you have about writing a project or a thesis or a research paper, it is a complete handbook. It is a collection of so many senior professors. I know them for like they are working in the field for the past 60, 70 years. They 40 years, 50 years, they all combined and just make this. They just made this. So it is important, not only for law people, but for everybody. It's a handbook of a research project writing. So from like BLLB, सबसे हमारे यहाँ जो we have this BLLB, and for LLM, PhD, for everybody it is important. Any kind of research. I will not show you this forward, वगैरह. It is just there. And okay, let me take you straight to the guidelines. See, this is how you structure your paper. Introduction, review of literature, then statement of the problem, then conceptual context, then you will have to tell your methodology, whether it is doctrinal, non-doctrinal, what kind of data you used, and then your hypothesis. You can write the hypothesis in, like point wise you can write, paragraph also you can write, small paragraph you can also write. So the method of data collection, then method of, how you will analyze the data and how will you show you. Okay, then significance of the study and references. And if you have used empirical research report, this should be the step, or I should say the structure of your research paper. But if you have used doctrinal research, then they also show you that. See, they will show you that. If you have used doctrinal research, then this should be your, it's there. Yeah, steps in doctrinal research. So just go to this website and just choose your structure, whatever you want to do. And they will tell you exactly in detail also. This is the blue book of uniform citation system, which we use in law. So they will tell you how to cite a book. But it is always, better, rather it is recommended to find out your own, what they want, the publisher want, the citation style. So this is a citation. I'll just now this. And sorry. Okay. This is a paper from Malaysia. Don't worry about this, not secure. Okay. Visible? Yes?
Yes.
So you can go here. See? The components are almost same. It is there. Structure and arrangement. See? So anywhere you can just, this is of a academic research paper. See? So this is going to help you to form your own structure. If there is no nothing empirical data, then skip one. So you can use the structure as you want. You can form your own structure, or rather you can use this basic structure. Basic structure to we have to follow. So this is about the structure of legal research paper. The same thing I'm going to explain here. So the title should always be, the first thing is how you will structure. The first thing is always title. And what about title? Title should always be clear. The title should be speaking. The title should tell the scope of your research. Sometimes what happens, the student comes and they say that, ma'am, we are conducting a research on domestic violence. So I ask them, where, beta? Where? In India? In Malaysia? Or are you just, going to have the data of the whole world? So they say, oh, ma'am, it's in Madhya Pradesh only. So I say, then put the Madhya Pradesh in the title. Why it is not showing that you are conducting your research paper only in Madhya Pradesh, only in India, or rather only in one city? It should be there in the title only. So the same thing applies for the research paper also. Your research paper title should be clear. It should be speaking. It should tell the scope and the area of your research very, very clearly. Then name of the authors, it is written like that. I already showed you. So name of the author is given, and in the footnote, our designation and our university name, everything is given. So this is how you write in research paper. The keywords, yes, they are very, very important. So if I am going to write a research paper on domestic violence, my keywords definitely include domestic violence and Madhya Pradesh, then Protection Against Domestic Violence Act. So my keywords should, what is this meaning of keywords? And especially when now everything is online, the keywords help you to search your research paper. Because keywords are, the keywords are the first thing which we by which we can find a research paper. So choose your keywords, the main focal points of your research paper, and just put it in keywords. And then you will have to write the abstract, or we call it the statement of objects, the statement of the problem to be undertaken. Make a the statement should be clear, it should highlight, and it should clear the topic, and it should clear whatever you are investigating, whatever you are researching. And then introduction. Now introduction is definitely, it is the basic outline. Now you can write in few paragraphs that in the first part of my research paper I will be discussing the concept of this, and you can always start your introduction with a quotation if suits, so introduction, it has to be there. Then in the second part I will be analyzing the data, I have conducted this data. So your introduction be such, because introduction is exactly your first, what I should say, it is the outline. So the outline should also be clear, so that the reader attracts to your research paper. And introduction should be prepared like very carefully. Then you should tell what are the sources you have used. These are the sources which we use in legal research paper: primary sources, secondary sources. I will just take 5 minutes, because I know that I have exceeded my time, just 5 minutes. And secondary sources are also there. Methodology, I already discussed this, so I will not go into deep of this topic, but it has to be in the structure. Your structure should include the sources, it should show which methodology you have used, so it should be like that only. Now I already showed you in this NLIU paper. So if you are conducting research based on empirical research, if your research paper includes empirical research, then the structure should be like this: introduction, literature review, statement of problem, then objectives. Then objective you can write in paragraphs also, and point wise also. Hypothesis you can write in paragraphs also, in point wise also. Empirical research, hypothesis is very, very important. It is the presumption on which you are going to test in your research. So hypothesis should be there. Then sampling, data collection, discussion, conclusion, bibliography. This is the structure of the paper. Very, very common. You can always find out in any of the websites. Very important. Just go through the website of that particular publisher where you have to publish it. But this is the basic things that has to be in every research paper. And if the research is doctrinal, now this is almost same, right? But sometimes people say, and people ask me that in doctrinal research, hypothesis is not necessary. So it is okay. But if you think that your research paper is more clear, and if you have made some kind of hypothesis, then even in doctrinal research you can make some hypothesis, and we do that in legal research. Okay, so this is the exact idea how you have to structure it is the building of your research paper. I showed you the most beautiful building of which I like. So the outer structure is also very, very important, and of course your insight is also important. So structure your paper in such a way that it can give the idea of your insight. Now we write bibliography, so we write acts. First of all, acts alphabetical order. If it is in alphabetical order, better. We put case laws, 40 cases, 30 cases, 15 cases, whatever we analyzed in alphabetical order. Bibliography should always be in alphabetical order, better. Reports, if used, books, articles, newspaper, other sources, case laws. And for citation, I already told you, we generally use Blue Book citation, but we, change our citation style as per the demand of publisher. So this question I already answered. Should I choose the publisher first or should I write first? Depends where you want to publish, why you want to publish. If you just want to publish in any UGC listed or peer reviewed, you can always go for writing a paper first. So this is the conclusion of my today's presentation, that first study your topic, then plan, then write and maintain the balance, which is most important in any legal research paper. And these are the references. And thank you very much for such a patient, being such a patient audience. Any question if you have, I will be happy to answer.
Your session was very good, madam. Thank you for the nice session.
Sir, thank you, sir. So encouraging. Thank you very much. If the organizers permit, can I answer some questions? If anybody has, or is there some question in chat box?
Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, Anjali ji. Yes. I can hear you. Please carry on.
Hello, ma'am. This is Anjali.
Good morning. Sorry. Good evening.
Your question
Good
was
evening.
very good,
Yes.
extremely powerful.
Oh,
Good evening, ma'am. Your question was
Right.
extremely powerful.
thank you very much.
And I have one question, ma'am. As you have told about Urkund app.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
It's a software. Yes, ma'am. It's a plagiarism
I want
software.
to download that app.
Yes.
Ma'am, it shows apps for
I am so sorry, ma'am, but I can't hear you. I just heard Urkund. Is it a software? So yes, it's a plagiarism check software. Yes. Please turn on your mic once again. And meanwhile, yeah. Yes, Anjali ji. Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, your mic is again mute. Yeah. Now.
I'm not mute.
Yes, ma'am. Please carry on.
Ma'am, am I audible to you? Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I'm
Yes.
telling you that Urkund app is just for institute.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello?
Yes, it is for the institutes. Our
Yes,
university
ma'am.
also use that. Yes.
Ma'am, is there any plagiarism checker app for students?
Ma'am, there are so many plagiarism check. There are so many apps. Just put on Google free plagiarism check apps. So there will be number of apps there, and you just but
ma'am, these are not authentic. I
Yes.
want some authentic plagiarism
yes.
app.
So try to find out some apps or some websites which are they are supported by government. For example, in Shodh Ganga we have this depository. In Shodh Ganga you can go and check your plagiarism, and in Shodh Shuddhi also you
Okay.
can go and check your plagiarism. So always go to such websites.
Okay, ma'am.
And if you just want
Okay.
to,
Ma'am,
yeah. Please.
Yeah, ma'am. One thing else. Can I check my plagiarism by writing? I mean, just write and then check plagiarism. Is this possible?
Yes, of course it is possible. Of course it is possible. You write
Okay.
you write one chapter and you get it checked. You write second chapter and get it checked. But please be aware of this. Be alert of this, because sometimes what the software does it, they will show you 100% plagiarism.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am.
So
It
ask your
happens.
librarian or ask your the person who's in charge of that to, there is a setting there. So if you set it not to go
Okay.
into the depository, then it will not go. Then it will not show.
Okay, ma'am. And ma'am, one thing else I want to ask.
Sure.
What is
Yeah.
the meaning of yellow line in plagiarism?
Uh,
Yellow color.
It must be showing you the word limit or something. 30 words
Ma'am,
or
when I checked my plagiarism for for chapter 1, so there are some colors showing there. So would you please tell me what is the meaning of these colors, like yellow, orange, red?
yeah, there are, but I am not the expert of all this. I just use
Okay,
that.
ma'am.
So
It's okay. It's okay,
somebody
ma'am.
from library can throw more insight on that. I'm not the perfect person for that. Very
Okay,
sorry.
it's okay. It's okay, ma'am. You're so powerful. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am,
Yes.
for
Okay.
informative session. Dear
Saurabh,
participants,
okay.
dear participants, we are moving to the next
Okay, Dina.
session. I invite Dr. Geeta
Hello, ma'am.
Phone to continue
Yeah, I have a
the
question.
session.
Hello.
Yeah. Can I talk?
Dr. Geeta
Yeah,
Swami.
yeah. I want. Can I ask the question, please?
I
Yes. My name is Haruna Ibrahim. I'm speaking from Finland. Ma'am, thank you for your awesome, meticulous presentation. I have learned a lot from you as a legal background. My first question is that could you share your email address, your official email address?
Yes, you can.
So-
You can have my email address from Dr. Frank. I will be also sharing this PowerPoint presentation with him also. Hardly matter. And he has my email address. He has my contact number, and you can always find my email address and my contact number on the official website of my university. That is Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalay, Sagar, Madhya Pradesh. Even if you type
Okay,
my name, you will find me on link on my IRNIS website also. Okay. We can always.
yes.
And
So
thank you for the generous comment. Thank you very much.
yes, my main question to you is with your background as a legal researcher over the years with rich experience, should there be the need for a global blueprint for researchers who violate research ethics? If yes, why?
It is very, very important. But right now, there are so many publishers, there are so many rules and regulations which are being, changed day by day. So right now we do not have this kind of, a uniform practice, but there has to be something. And I'm not sure if something is there.
But yeah, so my follow-up questions. Looking forward with your experience, because it is important to safeguard the research fraternity globally, so that
Definitely,
people's hard work.
it's an issue.
So that
It's
people's
an
hard
issue right
yes.
now. Why don't we conduct a PhD on that only?
All right.
It's a very important issue, because and it happens with everybody, not only for research, for everything. The laws are different, because there are domestic jurisdictions, there are international jurisdictions. It happens in everything. So the world is, it's a big thing. So it is definitely very, very difficult. But yes, we can always, have some safeguards. Of course, we should more research on that. Very good.
All right.
Very
So
good.
yes. So in the pipeline, I'm working on something like that around this topic, which
Okay.
I will need your rich experience. So I'll get your email from Dr. Frank.
Sure.
And
You
later
can
get to
you can
you.
find it on Google also. No problem.
All right.
Anytime.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right.
Thank you. So may I leave now, Jinuji? I'll stay and I'll listen to the expert. Definitely, I am very interested in this.
could I add something?
Yeah, please do
Yes.
that. Yes.
Yeah, one of the professors asked, I think so, what do the colors mean? Yellow color or something like that.
Yeah. Please,
Right.
please.
They
please.
actually, I know that because that's actually the percentage of copying that has taken place. And yellow color stands for 25 to 49% is plagiarized.
Yeah.
So blue, green, yellow, orange, red. Red is completely 100% plagiarized. Blue is the least plagiarized. That is according to the percentage of plagiarism which has occurred in the submitted document. So yellow means 25 to 49% it is copied. That is the meaning that I wanted to answer.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I
Thank you.
always look into the percentage only. Never think
Yeah.
about the color actually.
Yeah, the blue.
So I was
blue-
not able
yeah.
to answer. Thank
Blue
you. Thank
is sometimes even acceptable, blue, but red is not acceptable. Red is complete. It's like
Yeah,
100% plagiarized. That's
Sir, but what
And sir,
happens in
actually,
our
what about
research is,
yellow?
what happens in our
yellow.
research
Yellow
is,
is 25,
Yeah.
25% to 49%, around
But-
50%.
So is it acceptable or not?
No, it's not acceptable. Actually, not
You
at
will
all
have to
acceptable.
exclude that.
Blue is sometimes acceptable by some universities only. Actually, plagiarism is not at all acceptable. It's a crime.
Okay.
That's a-
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, even I want to add it. Like in Turnitin, it is like green up to 24%, it is acceptable. As sir has pointed out, yellow is not acceptable, which will come under 25 to 49. It's true.
So
Thank you. That was very informative session.
thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now I invite Dr. Geeta Muthuswamy, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Doctor,
All right.
yeah,
Can I
please
share?
continue. Yes, ma'am.
I still can see Dr. Anu's screen here. So I'm unable to share my slide here. All right. Okay.
You can say.
Okay. I think I don't know what happened just now. So my presentation was stuck actually. And I kept talking without realizing that it was on mute. But that's okay. All right. I think I can go to the next page. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am. We can
Please
hear.
continue.
Yeah, if you can't hear, just please let me know, okay? All right, okay. Okay, can you hear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right,
Please start.
okay.
Please start.
All
Yes.
right, okay. So moving on to, because my presentation or my sharing will be actually covering on the literature reviews, okay, because I believe that literature review is the foundation of our studies. All right, because even when we derive a problem statement, we still need to look into the reviewing the literatures. All right, so here we have this vast amount of existing literature, research articles, books, sources that symbolizes the raw materials that forms the foundation of the literature review. So we can see that through the literature review, we can derive ideas, debates, gaps, and trends that shape the context of our research topic. So the content here today, the part that I'll be going to cover today will be on why the literature review is important and what you actually, the insights that you actually gain from the literature review, and how you actually search for journal articles. How do you narrow down your research? That's the base. That's the main thing that I'm going to share anyway. All right, how to narrow down the research, and finally the battle of writing down a research story. All right, so as we all know, when we are struggling to start our research, our write-up, we always stuck because we don't know how to narrate a story. You have to look literature review as a storytelling, like a storytelling practice, okay, in order to derive a beautiful conclusion, identifying a beautiful research problem. All right, so here why literature review is important, because it is not only one step, it's a preliminary step that shapes research at every level, from framing questions to validating conclusion. So if you see in your research writing, you're able to identify that your review, your phase of reviewing the literature starts at the very beginning of the chapter till the conclusion part of your chapter. Every chapters you need to review a literature. You need to provide evidence, providing without plagiarizing. How are you going to do that? Okay, of course, by narrating a comprehensive literature review using your own words. This is what your lecturers, just your peers will be telling you. You know, you do not plagiarize. You have to have the first author, the second author. You have to blend these two authors and you come up with your own ideas. That's where the gaps or the problems will be identified. All right, so it's not that easy, even to create one sentences in a write-up, practicing the write-up, like emerging like article or points from different scholars and then come up with your problem. So you need to have this extensive readings of journals and papers and also anything that related with your study. All right, so literature reviews actually consist of an overview, summary, and evaluation of the current past state of knowledge about specific area of research. So here you have to narrow down your problem in discussing the theories, gaps, and methodological issues and suggestion for future research. All right, when we talk about evaluations, okay, so we mainly will say your problem statement or you finding your gaps is actually begin from evaluating your past research, past studies, critique them. So when you are doing a research or you're conducting a literature review, you want to derive a problem, you have to always agree to disagree. Disagree to whatever the scholars has identified in previous research. Disagree is just not on surface, but disagree by logical and logical arguments, and synchronize your logical argument. So you must have a story there. All right, when you want to critique, you must have a logical discussion there. So to have a logical discussion there, again, you need to read. All right, okay, so we can see here critique is a phase of literature review where you analyze, critically assess the quality and relevance of the sources you have summarized. Okay, this involves in addressing questions like how credible are the author's methodologies? Are the research findings supported by sound evidence? Are there any limitations or biases, or are there any conflicting viewpoints in the literature? Do not be afraid to attempt challenges. If there is a conflicting viewpoints within that literature and you're able to identify, then you further down your research in identifying the theories, the problems, the gaps, okay? Any other problems will actually, you can see from that findings, all right? So you also can discuss theories and gaps within the literature review aspects, all right? Literature review is foundation of your research and must be taken to tell research story that has led you to the research, meaning that you must actually see your research as a storytelling. You have to, not just like in story, there are twists and turns. So you encounter gaps in the literature that awaits explorations. You're going to explore that. So these gaps are your plot twist. All right, your role as a researcher is to answer the call, fill those gaps with your own contribution, fix the puzzles. All right, it's when you critically assess the strengths and weaknesses of the existing research methods, evaluate their relevance to your own work. So you're not just a reader here, but you are literally a critic analyzing narrative techniques that others have employed. So you must be able to critique with logical discussion. All right, as you move towards the resolution of your literature review, you highlight the gaps you are determined to address. A promise that your research will not only contribute to existing story. For example, previous research used only female as a sample to study, but now you're using male. That's a contribution, but there's a minor contribution to existing story. But you have to provide a new chapter, meaning that you do a theory integration. Perhaps you have a consumer theory, theory of plant behavior, you're trying to insert a psychological theory from different disciplines. So here you're actually creating a new chapter, exploring previous unexplored aspects. Okay, this is what the beauty of literature is, like you be your own storyteller. All right, so include or exclude past work. You establish a context for your work, highlight its potential contribution to the field, and extend a research story in your own way. All right. Next, we have studies from older studies. Sometimes when we want to use some terms from older studies, which will be like 30 years old studies, 40 years old studies.
Your screen is not visible, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am. You can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You can continue.
All right. Okay. Please tell me. Yeah. All right. Okay. The risk of missing literatures, perhaps, from 50 years old studies, 30 years old studies, you might not able to access. All right. And how do you going to analyze those studies which happen, like, because let's say you need to do an evolution of consumer behavior. Okay, to do an evolution of consumer behavior, you don't have to go to studies from 1925, 1930. You have to compile all those journals, and you have to identify. You need to write a story, and then you come up with your research. You don't have to do that anyway. You can always use previous literature reviews by typing in your Google search engine. You can type always for example, you want to search on theory of plant behavior. Okay, you can always type meta analysis in theory of plant behavior in consumer health concepts. All right, an overview, a review. So here you can actually see. All right, can you see the next slide? Do let me know if there's any problem with the slides or you can't hear me. All right, so this you can see here. Actually, I think I have keyed in theory of plant behavior meta-analysis. So okay, so the first one you can see here, prospective prediction of health-related behaviors with theory of plant behavior, a meta-analysis. Okay, so meta-analysis, meta means big, right? Big, huge. So they will give you the whole concept of prediction of health-related behavior, which falls into theory of plant behavior. So here you will get stories from 30 years, maybe 20 years. Okay, you don't have to look into few journals to have this. Maybe by looking at this, if you want to extract 1930 or 1950 journals, you can just extract that one and have a critical analysis on that. All right. But to have an overview concept, to find your problem, to identify your problem, to identify your gaps, or to know the story of a particular theories or variables, constructs, you can always do this, typing in a meta-analysis, a review, or an overview. All right. So this, I won't say it's a shortcut, but it's a way of your understanding how the story has been narrated. All right. So you can see that. Okay. Next, I'll be moving on to next slide. Here. All right. Next, we will be looking at the next context, which is what you actually gain from your literature review, reviewing your literature, I would say. Okay, but before that, you should know what are the areas you are actually looking into. Okay, be precise with your research in it. Look for an important aspect of the field of research. Okay. We knew that in exploring literature review, you will gain more insights. All right, here you can have 4 categories here. You have historical overview, where focusing on examining research throughout a period of time, starting with the first time an issue, concept, theory, or any phenomenon emerged in the literature. Then tracing its evolution within the scholarship of discipline. For example, evolution of consumer behavior. I'm actually giving more examples on marketing and consumer behavior because I'm from that field. But anyway, consumer behavior is not new, because even if you are not on that field, you still understand what's consumer behavior, because we are all consumers. Okay, we all consume things, everything, right? We are all consumers. So you don't have to study to know what kind of consumer you are, right? So anyway, you still will know the evolution of yourself as a consumer. Before pandemic, before COVID-19, and now. All right. I'm sure that most of you are buying things online. All right. You might have a compulsive buying behavior. All right. You might just buy things and you abandon it in the cart. All right, in the bag, and you don't purchase that. And with the integration of AI, okay, you have more easy way of buying things. A lot of emergence of technology will ease you. All right, if you have any scholars, who are in their 50s or 60s, they will understand. They can actually see the pattern of consumer behavior. Okay, you may actually take this into consideration and study. All right, they look into the current work, integration or cross studies from different fields. For example, consumer model and clinical psychology. Consumer model, for example, TPP model, all right, likelihood model. All these are under consumer models, marketing models. You are trying to include a psychological behavioral model. You're looking into a psychological construct. Clinical psychology is not related with consumer behavior. When it comes to behavior, psychology is related. So you can actually integrate these cross studies from different fields. Theory and models, extending a theory. Let's say you're taking a theory, maybe you TPB, theory of planned behavior, is basically a rational model. Maybe you will try to identify consumers are not always rational. There are non-rational or irrational factors need to be identified in that model. So you try to include moderators to prove that this theory need to be extended. Okay, and then you also can identify issues or context, long-term unsolved issues which you're going to solve. So you're going to find a theory, you have a problem, you're going to identify the gap, you can do that. Ongoing issues, all right, like the examples here, fake cosmetics, shopping cart abandonment. So here, first of all, in order to do a research or identify a gap, you have to always able to agree to disagree. You don't have to always agree with what previous scholars has done. You might be your own author of your own story. So challenge yourself and try to break that whatever insecurity that you have in yourself in order to do a research. So conduct a research. Research is trial and error. You don't have to always be perfect to have a perfect conclusion. All right. So literature gap is a missing piece or insufficient information in the research literature. These are the areas that have scope for further research because they are unexplored, underexplored, or outdated. A research gap is a key problem or a question that has not been answered by any of the existing studies within your research area. All right. Okay, moving on to next. What are gaps? All right. So before identifying what are gaps, scholars always have the problem of differentiating problem statement and research gap. All right, so I have like few students, my students, they're like, they know what is problem statement, they know what's gap. Sometimes they just mix both, So problem statement describes a general issue, a bigger issue, a wider, a broader, where you see your problem as a whole. All right. For research gap, specify a specific area. You narrow down whether they have a theoretical gap, they have empirical gap, they have knowledge gap, or methodological gaps. All right. So you have to specify the specific area of insufficient knowledge within the broader problem. Okay, meaning that you look into the problem statement, you have the problem as a whole. Okay, what are the gaps that actually derive to these problems? There must be a gap, right? Okay, so these are the difference. All right, so as an example here, example of problem statement, in recent years, there has been decline in enrollment. So the problem here is decline in the enrollment of female students, okay, in STEM-related fields at university level. So STEM is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematical level. So this gender disparity poses challenges to achieving gender equity. So you can read that, addressing the factors that contributing this decline. All right, so there's a research gap in the specific area within the existing body of knowledge, where there is a lack of sufficient information, understanding of evidence. It identifies what is not known or explored adequately in the field. So there's a gap. What is not identified, where you have decline in the enrollment in female students. Why? Okay. Example of research gap. While previous research has extensively explored the factors influencing student enrollment, there is a gap in understanding nuanced role of mentorship programs. How the mentorship programs effectively address this problem. All right. So do they encourage and support female students? So there's a need of research in this area by identifying this empirical evidence gap. Okay. So because why am I explaining this? Because you might think that problem statement and gaps are some similar thing. All right. They are same but not similar. Right. So here you have the next. Here actually I have the identification, how to identify a gap. So when you have research, when you read a journal article, how do you identify a gap? Unexplored subtopics. Identify a specific subtopic within a broader research area. So there's a broad area, but there's a subtopic that has not been identified. For example, research area, effects of social media on mental health. The gap here is limited research on the impact of social media on the mental health of older adults. Perhaps that research might have done a research on adolescents, but not mental health of older adults. So there is a substantial research on adolescents, but there's a lack research done in investigating how social media influence mental health in older adults. Then we have underrepresented demographic. Noticing a lack of studies focusing on specific demographic group. For example, workplace diversity. So you have the scarcity of research on the impact of workplace on the performance of employees with disabilities. So you're focusing on that, disabilities. Few studies delve into the unique experience and performance outcome of employee with disabilities. You can see the example here. And finally, you're able to identify the literature gaps through the aspects that are not thoroughly investigated. Pointing out aspects with broader concept that have received less attention. Okay, like just now I say theory of planned behavior is fully a rational theory, but there are scholars say it's consumer behavior is non-rational also. So it must have both. All right, comprises of both rationality and irrationality. So here, limited exploration on the impact of transformational leadership on student motivation in primary school. While transformational leadership is widely discussed, it has been widely discussed, but there's few studies have thoroughly examined its effect on motivation student in primary education. So that's the example of the gap, right? So you have to know what are the gaps that you're going to actually extract from reviewing the literatures, all right? Moving on to next, we have the identification of literature gaps. So we have about seven gaps here. Okay, we have 7 gaps here. First is evidence gap. Evidence gap results from studies allow for conclusion in their own right, but contradictory when examined from more abstract point. Perhaps there is no practically attempt, or there are no different contexts, right? Knowledge gap, interdisciplinary studies looking into different perspectives. Practical knowledge gap arises when actual behavior deviates from or not covered by the advocated behavior. Methodological gap in terms of population, sample size, research design, right? Not appropriate. Maybe perhaps that particular study need quantitative and qualitative approach, but you only use quantitative approach, all right? Empirical gap, research findings or propositions need to be evaluated empirically, verified. Underpinning theory, theoretical gap, where the theories has its gap, like TPP just now, all right? You must have underpinning theory or how and why it happens, and also must have a connecting theories. For example, if the TPP is rational, and then you have a prospect theory from Daniel Kahneman explaining that prospect theory is actually addressing irrational factors, which are cognitive biases. All right, there are 200 cognitive biases. Which one you're going to include? So you're connecting micro theories there. And finally, population gap is not exactly important, but it might fall into methodological gap as well. Demographic, segmentation gaps, and also race, income gaps, right? So in order for you to understand better So here I actually have, because in literature review, you have to see and understand. If I'm keep talking, but maybe you can't, absorb the information, it could be quite, tough also, because if when you see, you understand better. Okay, how you identify some of the gaps. So for example, these are all examples. I have about 2 slides. All right, so research area, for example, impact of product packaging on consumer purchase decision. Okay, packaging impact consumer purchase decision. Evidence gap. While numerous studies have explored the influence of visual, aesthetic, and design element in product packaging on consumer preferences, there is a gap in the literature concerning the specific effects of eco-friendly packaging. Why there are no eco-friendly packaging on purchase decision among Gen Z consumers? Solution here, you must begin by conducting an extensive literature review on consumer behavior. First, consumer behavior, then packaging design, then include environmental psychology. What are the preferences of Generation Z into environmental psychology? Identify relevant theoretical framework, TPP or value belief norm theory, that can help to contextualize Generation Z consumer attitudes towards eco-friendly packaging. So this is how you fill in or fix the puzzles. All right, next is knowledge gap. Sustainable fashion consumption, consumer decision making. Knowledge gap here is, while research has explored various aspects of sustainable fashion consumption, there exists a significant knowledge gap in comprehensively examining the intersection of consumer behavior, environmental psychology, and fashion economics to understand how sustainable fashion choices are influenced both individual and broader economic trends. So these are more relating to economical fashions, okay? So these are more on interdisciplinary literature synthesis. Conduct a depth interview of literature across consumer behavior, environmental psychology, and fashion economics. So you have to identify theories and framework from each disciplines, such as these models and environmental concern models, economic theory. So you must include economic theory here, environmental concern models. All right, so you have you synthesize different models, so you are filling in the gap. Next, you have methodological gap, mobile app user experience and customer loyalty. While previous study investigate the relationship between mobile app user experience and customer loyalty, they use self-report survey, self-administered survey. There is a methodological gap in the literature concerning lack of objective measures such as eye tracking technology to assess real-time user engagement. So you have to do a comparative analysis, compare the findings from self-report survey with the eye tracking data, or you might do an interview or mixed method strategies approach, identify instances where users' self-reported perception align with or diverge from the actual engagement behavior. So you are actually identifying the gaps to fix different types of methodological approach in order to identify in order to fix the gap. All right. Next two is empirical gap and theoretical gap. Empirical gap is influence on online reviews on purchase decision. Here, existing research explored the impact of online reviews on consumer purchasing behavior in products, context of products. No noticeable empirical gap when it comes to how online reviews influence service industries, decision making in service industry, particularly with hospitality. So you have identified different gaps. So choose a specific segment of hospitality for depth analysis, such as hotel, restaurants, any services, and you have to design a case study that involves multiple service providers. Choose a segment and try to do a comparative analysis of product and service. So you have a research, you have a topic there, you have a research there, you know. And finally, it's a theoretical gap that I mentioned just now, where you actually identify the issues in the theory itself, the theoretical model itself, and come up with issues to solve. All right, an idea to how to solve that. Okay, here, personalization and privacy trade-off in AI-driven consumer experiences. Here you can say that previous research has explored the benefit of AI-driven personalization a theoretical gap exists in examining the intricate balance between personalized recommendation and potential erosion of consumer privacy. So you specifically develop a comprehensive framework to incorporate consumer behavior theory with ethical framework like the fair information practice principles to contextualize the personalization privacy trade-off within the AI driven. So you have to read more to understand the logical synchronization of all these methods. All right, without wasting time, we just delve into the next slide. Findings. So here, after you have identified all these gaps, you're able to extend the model and theories from different perspectives, able to extend towards new contexts or issues. Like just now, we move from the product to service, hospitality, restaurants, and tour, travels, services. So you're able to move to next context. All right, identify new moderators, mediators, okay, the constructs. You also can develop a new scale development. For example, cognitive bias, they only have one scale, which only have one scale related with health. They don't have for consumer. So if you want to develop a scale, cognitive bias scale, which relating to consumer behavior analysis, you can develop a new scale. But new scale development is another story. So we need to have another session actually. So you have practical contribution, solving issues, benefiting policymakers, researchers, and academic contributions. So a well-crafted literature review, identify gaps, propose new perspective or frameworks, lays the groundwork for your research to make meaningful contribution to the field that you're actually analyzing. Okay. So last part here, the final part, how are you going to search? I mean, Google search, Google Scholar is very, very familiar to you. You use Boolean keywords. And you can search, like I have searched here, cognitive bias and marketing. And you have to put the close, open, inverted comma, like in above of the cognitive bias, you can put open and close. So you will only get that particular information they are searching. All right, so you can use phrases like and, or, not to limit or broaden to define the research. Because if you type marketing, it will be, you have like millions of papers. How are you going to narrow down your research? So you have to have some keywords and open and close inverted commas in order to narrow down your research. And you can see in Google Scholar, you have time, you can customize your years here. All right, so that's very much helpful. I used Google Scholars as well. All right, so you can see here, you have highly cited papers. You can see the red column there, highly cited papers. All right, then you have, when it has been published. All right, so here you have 72,226 papers for prospect theory. All right, you may click on that and look into 2-3 papers, or you only can click cited by 100. So there are only few people cited this, so you can extract their paper and see what is lacking in this paper. All right, so this is very useful because you have these connected papers there. So another way of getting your papers, the closely related papers, is through connected paper search. Okay, connected paper is actually an easy to use powerful tool that promises to help you quickly identify similar papers with just one seed paper, a relevant paper. Seed paper here means a relevant paper, right? This is actually referred to a feature or concept that helps you, researcher, discover interconnected research papers within a specific field of study. It's a tool to assist researcher in finding papers, can be especially helpful when exploring specific topic, understanding context paper, and also providing you citations as well as papers to cite original papers. So you just go to Google and enter into connected papers, and it will automatically attempt to generate for you 25 or so relevant papers, similar papers, and help you to easily identify which other paper connected to you. All right, if you have not heard about it before, I mean, like previously, before the AI has emerged, all those AI relevant, tools emerged. So we will be using more on Google, relying on Google Scholars, and after that evolve into connected papers. Now you have a lot of search engines where you are actually basically very lucky because you have more easy way of finding papers. So please explore on that. If I were to cover on AI, it will be another topic as well, because there are few AI tools that can actually help you, assist you. Okay, here, connected papers. Just easily go to the search engine and put there, go to connected papers page, just connectedpapers.com. You can try now. All right. And then type your research, your search. Perhaps you want to research on cognitive bias, prospect theory, anything, any of your construct variable, your study, whatever. Put it here. All right. Click here to choose the relevant step 3. Look at step 3. Click at the nodes. You know, there's a circle and there's a connecting nodes there. We call that as connecting nodes. Click there and you will get this. All right. You will get this. I don't know whether you can see. Can you see? Can you see or can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. We can hear.
Yes,
We can
ma'am.
see.
Yes, huh? All right. Okay, please tell me if you can't hear. Okay, I've been talking to myself for 10, 20 minutes just now. All right. Okay. Wait. Okay, these are the connected papers. So popular papers that are frequently cited and represented by bigger circles. Okay, and or we call that as nodes. And more recent papers are represented by darker colors. Okay, for example, finding an important new paper in your field is easy as identifying dark large node at the center of big cluster. So you can see all the nodes here. All right, all these papers are connected with your big major papers. Okay, so on your right side, there's a narration of what you're finding. When you click, there's a narration. And on your left side, you're able to see all the papers where you can just click and go to the connected papers. So when you're talking about cognitive bias, when you're talking about consumer behavior evolution, you will have like few connected papers. So these papers are eventually connected to each another. So you know which paper have cited this study, you know, you just go to the next. So you're able to identify the papers of your research area. All right, I think this will be helpful as well. So you can go and try and error later. All right. So I think it's already 10:20. All right. Okay. Almost to the end of the topic here. So next is organizing into a matrix. Right? New researcher, new scholar, just starting off your PhD or your Master of Science, need to do your research. You may try this doing your matrix. Organizing your research into a matrix manner, make it relevant to your research question or objective. There are no standard design. This is just my design. There are no standard design. You can make it free and easy as you like. So here you can put author or year, source, domain, what are domains, all right, research design, who are the participants, key findings, what are the findings that you can include. So when you write your literature, easy for you to refer. All right, so this is one of the method. You may use it, or if you find it more, some of you like to be messy, you like to copy and paste in folders, then you like to later put it in your write-up. Is that okay? Anything that you're convenient, but make sure you do something. All right, because you need to be consistent in writing. Need to at least one day write a page or write a line or one paragraph. Okay. So next is the battle of writing down a research story. Okay, so this is hopefully the last part. Okay, so here these are finding and evaluating relevant material as well as synthesizing information from various sources require ability to juggle multiple tasks, from critical thinking to paraphrasing, evaluating, and then you must have your citation skills. So here I will actually share the tricks that I have personally learned while working on my Doctor of Philosophy. So first, define a topic and audience. Like just now, I think Dr. Anu has explained, you need to know who are you actually presenting your work. All right, you have to identify your audience. Narrow down and focus whatever interested to you. If you have found more than 100 papers on the topic published in journals, little attention was given to different topics. So you pin that and look for construct and domain of the study. You can work reverse. All right, discuss in your review, narrate and convey messages in different manner. Take notes while reading. That is very, very important. Take notes while you're reading. I am very, I'm very traditional, okay? I love to write and I must have papers. Okay, even though we are using everything, everything with tabs, phones, and all that, but I still like to write. I like to be with my papers. All right, so it depends on you. Be critical and consistent. This is what I mentioned just now. Find a logical structure. A good review has a number of telling features. It is worth the reader's time, timely, systematic, well-written, focused, and critical. You don't want your examiners to get bored with your study, your research, your write-ups. It also needs a good structure. Logical, synchronized, and sequential. Story must be sequential. Make sure you have sequence and not a repeated sequence. All right. Again, how you can do this? Read a lot. Read the best journals, best articles to know how they actually narrate the story. If you are a good writer, then not a problem for you. Read what is relevant to your study. You teach and no one knows who study better than you. So you know where to stop. Okay, don't put everything in your research. It's your study. So do not write something that you can't explain. All right. So make sure you're able to tell people your story. Include your own relevant research, but be objective. Be up to date, but don't forget the older studies. So you have to have current and the older studies. So most importantly, practice digital detox, which all of us are actually always with our phone and all that. So make sure you put that aside when you're writing. Be open-minded, and anybody critique your study, don't critique back, okay? Make sure you are able to accept and try to find out what's the problem. Accept criticism, and then you try to defend yourself, okay? So always attempt, challenge yourself, and okay, these are the literature review papers that you can actually get from Google Scholar. I found this one of the best that explain how to write a literature review. You can take this. I will, okay, if you need the slide, just let me know. I will share with Dr. Frank, okay? All right, so summary, questions to ask yourself about your literature review. All right, do I have specific thesis? What type of literature review you're conducting, the gaps, right, scope, specific relationship between the literatures, how critically you analyze the literatures. Have I cited? Okay, I must learn to cite, okay? All right. Okay, thank you very much. And I think that's all for my presentation today. Sharing session, I would say. And I hope I have provided sufficient information to all of you here. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Jean. Any questions?
Thank you for
Dear
the session,
participants,
madam.
if
It
you
was
have
very
any
good.
questions, you can ask.
Yes.
Thank you for the session. It was very good. No question, madam.
Thank you.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can ask. Thank you, ma'am, for the fruitful session.
Thank you. Thank you,
Dear
Mr. Jean.
participants, yeah, thank you, ma'am. Dear participants, we are moving to this session.
All right.
Now I
Thank you.
introduce our speaker, Dr. S. Aloysius Albert. He's an assistant professor of English and dean of students at St. Xavier's College, Palayamkottai. He has, to his credit, BA Philosophy, Theology, Sociology, and English, MA English and Theology, MPhil English, and PhD in English. Besides, certificate course in German language at MK University. He formerly served as the HOD of English at Arul Anand College, Madurai, and has 8 years of teaching experience. He has published more than 32 research articles in the national and international journals, edited 6 books, and organized 3 national seminars. He is specialized in African literature and interested in exploring ancient wisdom and its relevance to the modern world. He is well versed in Tamil, English, Hindi, Bhojpuri, Latin, and German languages. He was member of the academic audit team at St. Joseph College, Kudalur. He has received Lavender Award 2021 for his outstanding contributions to resource sharing, teaching, and research. We are very glad to have you, sir. Please begin the session.
A very good evening to all who are present in this online meeting on research ethics and learn about some moral philosophy. Very happy to listen to the speakers, and I hope we have heard many things about the research, ethics, publications, and maybe what I'm going to share with you, maybe a repetitive one, but then it is necessary in the context of research, publications, in the context of India today. So I'll share my presentation.
Yes.
Okay. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. We can.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Just a minute. Okay, so my topic today is academic integrity and research ethics. So we have been hearing about publication ethics, research ethics, academic integrity, and from the personal point of view or from the academic point of view, I'm going to share with you some of the academic integrity and research ethics. So my presentations will be based on these 4 aspects: academic integrity and research ethics. First, I'm going to talk about what is academic integrity and what is academic dishonesty. And thirdly, it will be on research ethics and what is moral philosophy. And the last, research in India, the UGC regulation in 2018. I hope my slides are changing.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes. So the first will be academic integrity. We have been hearing about this word, integrity, academic, honesty. But then mostly the negative aspects actually gets close to us rather than the positive. We don't worry about the integrity, but we worry about disintegrity. What is unacceptable, we are very familiar with, but what is acceptable, we are moving away from it. And most of the time, the negative aspects is actually surrounded, especially in research. The moment you take up a research, and most of the time, it is surrounded by a negative vibrations. And rarely you find people talking about, in Indian context, rarely you find people talking about the research as very good, very enriching. The experience is very, very good. Whereas you go to European and American universities and centers, even on a MA level, the publication of research articles is original and it is really valued. Okay. That's the reason many colleges and universities speak about academic integrity and research ethics. And UGC comes up with the regulations, but then regulations are actually there in the papers. And therefore, it is important to talk about this academic integrity. And what is actually academic integrity? It is sound, acceptable, ethical practices. We remember these 3 terms. It's a very sound, very acceptable, ethical practices. So it's a sound practice, acceptable practice, and an ethical practice. Where in teaching, research, and assessment. It's not only in teaching, not only research, also in assessment. Therefore, it becomes academic integrity. You may be a professor, you may be a scholar, but then teaching, research, and assessment, academic integrity is very important. And therefore, they call it intellectual honesty. Today is very, very important. And what is intellectual honesty? It is a proposing, performing, reporting any activity which leads to the creation of intellectual property. So what academic integrity? Okay. So 3 things you remember: proposing, performing, and reporting any activity which leads to the creation of intellectual property. And we have been creating courses or seminars, conferences on intellectual property rights. Okay. Therefore, it's very important to hold intellectual honesty and not intellectual dishonesty. And another definition is given by the Quality Assurance Agency of Higher Education in UK. Okay. I just love to read this quotation of academic integrity. They are given in their quality assurance agencies. Academic integrity includes principles, values, conduct, measures, and systems relating to fairness and honesty within teaching, learning, and assessment. Okay. How much importance is academic integrity? Okay. So all our principles, we have our own principles, life principles. Okay. If you are an academic, you have academic principles. And we follow values. Human beings are really filled with values. And we have contact measures. Okay. And we have systems relating to the fairness and honesty within teaching, learning, assessment. And this is very important. And therefore, academic integrity plays a vital role before taking into any activity in terms of research, assessment, and teaching. We are talking about academic integrity. We also talk about what academic dishonesty. Okay. And what happens if you are actually dishonest in academic integrity and the individual is blacklisted? Okay. Of course, it is there in the law. And the withdraw, you can withdraw the manuscript. Okay. If your article is published, okay, if you again publish an article because you already found a dishonesty, what happens when you publish the next article? People view with suspicion. Okay. So you can never publish an article because your name is already branded as dishonest. And if you are a teaching faculty, and of course your increments can be cut, your guideship can be withdrawn. What happened to scholars? And scholars, sometimes you have to resubmit or submit revised papers. They may give you some chance. As already talked about how many percentages of plagiarism can be accepted. Of course, now below 10, and most of the universities. Earlier it was 25, but it's below 10. Okay. It's not actually below 10, not refers to you can have 10% of plagiarism, as the earlier speakers have clearly mentioned. Okay. If there's extreme cases, of course, PhD registration is cancelled. UGC regulation 2018 is clear on this, academic dishonesty. But how much it is implemented is actually a big question in Indian context. Okay. And coming to the third one, research ethics and moral philosophy. What is actually moral philosophy? We talk about philosophy. Okay. What is moral philosophy? It's a set of standards to find what is right or wrong, good or bad, legitimate or acceptable. And this is actually research ethics or moral philosophy speaks about. And you have many fields today to speak about this ethics. It's not only research ethics. We have sports ethics, business ethics, media ethics, medical ethics, and research ethics. So everywhere you find this, as you remember the previous one, principles, values, measures, systems, all these are actually should be focused, right or wrong, good or bad, legitimate or acceptable. And therefore, as we have sports ethics, business ethics, media ethics, medical ethics, we have research ethics. And therefore, research ethics speaks about, it's a branch of ethics today. Of course, we learn ethics. We have so much to talk about. So research ethics speaks about fair, legitimate, responsible conduct. That's very important. Third word I just emphasize, fair, legitimate, and responsible conduct of research in conducting research. Okay. So we are actually one who conducts is supposed to be responsible. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about this. What are these unethical measures that today's scholars or even faculty follow? And therefore, please remember, ethics is supposed to be a branch of ethics. It talks about fair, legitimate, and responsible conduct of research. Okay. And I'm going to give you some unethical practices that are happening today based on the things that I have collected on my experience, the sources I just got from. I'm just going to give you some of the unethical practices that are happening so that you are aware of it and you get out of this. Number one, outsourcing research work or a project. So what happens most of the time, you become ghost writers. Okay? You give to somebody and somebody writes and gives you, and you become only just a spectator, and then you present the papers. It's happening everywhere now today. And there are agencies who write and give you the papers. Okay? Even thesis. Okay? You pay the money and you get it. And what is the use of it? That's why this research ethics, fair, responsible, the previous one says legitimate. Okay? And outsourcing becomes very ordinary. Okay? I find many of my friends call me and says, people are asking for this much money. Okay? It's outsourcing research is actually unethical practice. Okay? Even a project, MA project. And students, when the scholars do it, however, the students, we send students for internship programs. Recently, we had all the students supposed to go for internship, 15 days of internship. And you find the students copying from others. They have not gone for internship, but they have copied the projects and then just change the name and the submit. We found so many of them and then we have cancelled the internships. But this is what going to happen. Okay. And scholars and the faculty members supposed to be very careful because it's a fair, responsible conduct of research. And the second one is rehashing or reusing available materials. So it is actually cut and paste attitude we have today. Even you write 3 pages of article, and you find, getting from someone else without acknowledging, it becomes a problem. What is the problem in acknowledging? I find one of the papers, I have 10 lines. And within 10 lines, there are 6 quotations. Okay, it's 10 lines, 6 quotes. Okay. And you may refer and you acknowledge, and there's no problem because you are, in order to emphasize your viewpoint, you are actually taking a message or matter from someone else and you are acknowledging it, and there's no problem. The problem comes that you're using available materials as your own. Okay? So that becomes a problem. And somebody is talking about here Shodh Ganga, and it becomes, Shodh Ganga is available, and we have no problem. Just have a cut and paste. So rehashing, reusing available materials is unethical practice. The third one is fabricating data. No experiment, no field work. People don't go for any field work. And I find some of these management papers or even others, those who conduct research and data collections. Okay. And you yourself have collected, you yourself collect data and then you just make your own data without going for field work, without doing any experiment. And then you fabricate the data and submit it. It's just for the sake of submissions. And that is the reason we have increased number of fake journalists. Remember this, since we are actually fabricating data, there are persons to publish the fabricated data. And if you are genuine, of course it will go to the genuine journals. Okay. So we are actually doing this piecemeal publications. Okay. So we are actually part of this, and therefore increased number of fake journals. And we find it really difficult to publish in UGC care lists or even Scopus journals. And every research scholar questions how to publish the paper in a genuine journals. Why such an increased number of fake journals or predatory journals? Why? It's because of unethical practices that people practice. And therefore, fabricating data is unacceptable, it's unethical. And fourthly, falsifying and tampering with the data. In order to fit our interests, we change the data after the collections. Okay. See, alter or modify data collected just because of publications. It happens many times because we have our own, we have created our own methodology, okay, hypothesis, and in order to fit into a hypothesis, what happens? We actually falsify or tamper the data, okay, so that it's published. So what is the use of it? So that's really unacceptable. And fourthly, of course, plagiarism. Everybody speaks about plagiarism. Okay, it's actually literary theft. It comes from Latin word plagiarus, okay, which means kidnapper. Okay. You take from others. Okay. And therefore, this plagiarism is actually talked so much about. And how to avoid plagiarism? It just one way is taking notes. When we are actually learning, we are used to give this small booklets. Okay, we used to cut from chart papers. Okay, and when you go to the library, you collect the information, take down notes. At the back side of the card, you write down the reference, okay, a bibliographical information, okay, and you have to collect. Okay, so in order to write some 5 pages, we must have some 150 cards. Okay, and I don't know how many of us practice this card system. Wonderful way of doing it, because when you read, you start writing or quoting down. Now, since the internet is available, we have no problem going outside or reading books. Okay, one of the best ways is reading books and take notes, okay, even in a card system. This is wonderful practice because every information is available. We are actually quoted, and behind information is there, and therefore you can acknowledge what you have actually collected, and therefore it becomes no problem. Ethical practices. But where unethical comes, because you don't even work, you copy and just paste as your own, that becomes. Therefore, taking notes is very important. I also always tell my students that take notes. Okay, and that becomes a practice. Even for scholars, or you are hearing some talks, conferences, seminars, you take down notes, acknowledge. Okay, or the books you read, acknowledge. Okay? If you acknowledge, and there's no problem at all. And acknowledge, even paraphrase and summarizing. So what problem comes is you quote somebody, quotations, but what happens to paraphrase? So paraphrase also should be acknowledged. Even the summary that you take from is supposed to be acknowledged. And based on the summary, paraphrase, or the quotations, you have your own thought patterns, and that thought pattern has to be written. Okay. And therefore, when you write a paragraph, after writing a paragraph or quoting from somebody, and then you analyze that paragraph, it becomes your own. Okay. And in order to analyze that paragraph, you take additional information from someone else, and then you quote. This becomes, okay. So it's actually enjoyable work. Okay. Research is actually supposed to be very enjoyable, but it becomes a burden in order to complete the PhD. Then it really becomes a burden. I find in Facebook, or you find Twitter, the poster that comes. Okay. Sometimes the pictures comes there. When you start a PhD, research, it becomes very interesting. But then when you come to a small one, it becomes, when you finish your PhD, it's really utter heavy hard work. Okay, but it is really interesting when you are following actually the ethical practices. And then manage timeline. This is very important. I have been telling in so many conferences, manage timeline. The problem getting into unethical practices because we work last 3 months or 6 months in order to complete. By the time you are sitting. Now, universities have made it very compulsory that you are supposed to submit reports in 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year. And 3 months is a report. Why it has come? Because we have followed unethical practices. We have been, 4 years, 3 years, we sit. And the last 3 months we work. Okay. How is it possible? Therefore, there are people, I remember 8 years, 10 years, they are not completed their PhD. Okay. And they keep on renewing. And what is the use of it? So it becomes managing timelines is very, very important. So 3 months, 6 months, wow, just find the progress. And therefore, you will not have any problem for plagiarism or unethical practices. Okay. Sorry. And then, as the previous speaker also said, check with the plagiarism checker. Somebody is asking plagiarism checker. Of course, official, turn it in. Of course, sometimes it's very costly, but there are colleges, universities which keep this, turn it in, or Urkund. This is the basic in Indian context. There are other things. Okay, if you even purchase a quill bolt or something like that, they provide you plagiarism. Okay, but you have to pay money and then get it. Okay, so check with plagiarism checker before submitting to the publishers. And then 6th one, dealing with human subjects or participants. Suppose you are taking samples. Okay, as a human subject or participants, you are supposed to get the free and informed consent. Okay. So what happens without their consent? You can't just publish. Okay. And also maintaining of confidentiality. That's very important. You can't reveal after taking the human subjects and participants into your research. Okay. Now people just reveal that about the human subjects becomes a problem. And therefore, that is also unethical practice. Okay. And then gaps in storage. If you have published your articles or research, at least minimum 5 years you have to keep it. Okay. Now what happened? Recently I heard that the research published, okay, by a particular person, it has been given to someone else, his friend, and his friend also published. Okay. Therefore, if you are published, your data is supposed to be maintained minimum of 5 years as per the rule. Okay. So therefore, is gaps in storage. And then using animals in research, we have been actually not only in arts, science subjects also we have, when you are using animals in research, reduction, replacement, and refinement plays a vital role. Reduction means number of animals in research. Of course, early days they used to have animals in research, but they are asking us to reduce the animals. Instead of that, replace with the cells. Okay. That's important. And ninth one is misappropriation of research funds. Of course, research funds is given minimum as far as my knowledge goes. You correct me. There are research funds given to the persons. Okay. When a research fund is given, what happens is how much we are actually following this. Okay. So misappropriation of research fund. That's why the fund has been actually reduced or not given because of the misappropriations. So it's also an unethical practice. Showing bias in research. Okay. So what happens when you show bias in research? Okay. We show bias because of lack of vision we have, or superstitious behavior, or there is a prevalence of low IQ. Okay. And then you find lack of leadership skills. Based on this, possibly the bias attitude comes in the research. It's an unethical practice. Also, you find covered practices like observing the participants without their knowledge. You can't, that's why it's clearly said you have to acknowledge, okay, our human subject, our participants, without their free and consent. Okay. So for observing participants without their knowledge, it's also unethical. And then stealing data from peers, okay, lab records or research papers they have published. Okay. I remember one of research scholars have been caught in publishing the data from the peers in the recent past. They have taken from the lab records or the research papers. It's also unethical. And construct validity. You have to clearly define the key concepts. Okay, that's very important in research. When you are using a concept, it has to be clearly defined. Then giving authorship to someone. Okay, you have written, but you are actually giving the authorship to someone else. That is also unethical practice. And publishing same data in different journals. What happens is when you publish the same, in order to get, somehow you'll get it. So you are publishing in different journals. And sending 2-3 papers simultaneously to different journals without informing the editors. So you have to inform the editors before sending it. Okay. And then selectively quoting or misquoting to suit your focus. In order to enrich our research, okay, what happens, we usually selectively quote or misquote to suit our focus. Okay. That's also actually part of this plagiarism, part of unethical practices. Now, I always tell my research scholars or the students, okay, without actually reading a book, okay, people are writing papers, okay, without reading. Okay. So, how is it possible? Okay. Or without going for a field work, without doing any experimentation, without actually reading a book. Okay. So, it becomes really, so this is also unethical practice. Without going through the the enjoyable time, we are actually doing the practice. Then, citing from sources that are directly or strictly not connected. Okay. This is also a plagiarism. Okay. Then also you find using the data without consent or without the consent of the persons. Okay. And then lastly, I just completed. Someone was asking, there are research misconduct in India. UGC regulation 2018 clearly places, this is my fourth point, okay. There are two bodies that contributes this research UGC regulation 2018. Okay. Department of Academic Integrity Panel, and then your institutional academic integrity panel. Okay. They have contributed that if you have 1 to 10%, okay, no problem. But if you have 10 to 40%, you are supposed to resubmit it. And 40 to 60 percentage, we have 1 year we have to wait, or above 60, suppose totally it's be cancelled. Okay. So now there's so many universities and colleges conduct research and publication ethics as 2 credit course. We have been teaching in our MA level, even all the scholars. But what happened is, it all depends, as I said in the first integrity, okay, principles, values, contact measures, and system related to fairness and honesty within teaching, learning, assessment. Okay. That's very important in order to create the academic integrity. And of course, we can just keep on talking about unethical practices, but what is important is ethical practices that we need to follow, not unethical. Therefore, you should be surrounded by positive energy rather than the negative energy surrounds PhD, research, and ethics. Okay. I think I have talked enough. Thank you so much. If you have any questions to ask me, or clarifications or contributions from your part, you are most welcome.
Thank you, sir, for the nice presentation.
Thank you, sir. Someone has raised a question, raised a hand.